Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today let's go over the top 5 mids for patch 7.32. Alright, coming in at number 5 is Tinker. Now apparently I missed the biggest Tinker buff when I was reading over the patch notes, and a lot of you guys were kind enough, well, or not kind enough, to let me know that I actually did miss what is arguably the biggest buff of Tinker. Now Tinker was a really funny one because during the patch analysis, I said that Tinker would be one of the worst heroes of the patch. Now, I don't think Tinker is this like mega broken hero and is gonna ruin your pubs. In fact, I'm very happy with how they changed Tinker. So let's get into that. So a couple things to note is they buffed the mana cost on laser by 10 mana at all times. They also lowered the channel time of rearm by 0.25 seconds. This was probably the biggest one. On top of that, they even decreased the mana cost of rearm at every single level. So all of a sudden, Tinker's two most important abilities, laser and rearm, are quite a bit better. Rearm being actually significantly better. 60 mana less at max ability, which is freaking huge considering you're casting this 5, 6, 7 times in late game teamfights. That's really gonna add up. It will basically allow you to get off that extra rearm. However, what they really hard nerfed about this hero is that now rearm, if it gets canceled, has an 8, 7, or a 6 second cooldown, which is basically really bad because essentially how this hero would live is if it got jumped, it would just pop into the rearm and blink out. That's no longer possible. So Tinker, if he gets caught, is worse than ever. However, if he doesn't get caught, he's technically better than ever. In fact, he's quite a bit better than ever, because at level 20, he has Defense Matrix grants 25% cooldown reduction, which I definitely missed. So basically, if you put this on your teammates, they can just spam their abilities. And of course, you can use this very casually as well. If your team is simply ahead or even behind and they want to jungle, well, they jungle significantly faster with this 25% cooldown. And so yeah, this hero actually got a buff. In fact, it's one of the most buffed mids of the patch, and so I think it definitely deserves a spot in this list. I will say though, if you're gonna pick Tinker, don't spam it in ranked right away. Spare your teammates. Don't go ruin pubs. Gameleap does not sponsor that. If it is your first Tinker game, don't make it ranked, please. Play it against bots, play it in unranked. I don't just do anything but ranked. Don't do ranked. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like literally with the Gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the Gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Coming in at number 4 is going to be one of the most pro staple heroes. I think it's honestly not as good in pubs, where I think like Tinker, for instance, is very good in pubs. I think Tiny, as a mid laner, if you get good at him, he scales well. You can go a Silver Edge with like a Daedalus build, Echo Silver Edge Daedalus, of course with a Blink mixed in and a BKB mixed in. But basically what I'm saying is this hero does scale, which I think is like really nice, especially with how long pubs seem to be going. It is nice to have a hero that can scale, and every single hero on this list definitely scales. Honestly, most mid scale pretty well. That's really not a great argument, but I would say Tiny scales quite well, especially with some of his later talents. But I want to basically put this hero on the list as the most reliable mid of the patch. Basically, if you're looking for a hero that you can just pick and never have a bad set of game matchups, Tiny's basically always good. He loses practically no lanes. Like, there's very few matchups that are really bad for him. Lina's not great, Quap is not great, but like, other than that, even Quap and Lina are pretty playable. Like, they're pretty playable, and you kind of counter both of these heroes in the mid game to an extent. And so Tiny, especially in the pro scene, is just going to be one of the most reliable picks of the patch. Even though the hero did get nerfed relatively significantly, it's still going to be very reliable, and I think the Ags build will be quite popular on this hero as well. Coming in at number 3 is Lina. In terms of right-click mids, I think Lina is going to be very dominant this patch. And there's a reason why, even though the hero received not a single buff. Now you might be thinking to yourself, but Speed, she got Flame Cloak, I can buy an Ags and fly over cliffs. That's really not good. Don't buy it. Then Lina is not a good mid, and I would not recommend it in the slightest. However, if you just go your regular bots, BKB, Silver Edge, Hurricane Pike type beat build, something along those lines. There's some other builds. Basically, you can go like BKB Silver Edge, you can go BKB Scotty if you're like Giga Snowballing and the enemy has a bunch of ranged heroes. You can go that route. You can go BKB Dragonlance Satanic to be like ultra unkillable. There's some really interesting builds that you can actually go on Lina to make the hero good. So why do I think it's going to be good this patch in particular? I believe that lane dominators are way better than ever, right? For pretty obvious reasons. There's no longer a small camp. So basically, you might be like, oh, Lina's not that good then, right? She loved the small camp. She would flash farm like crazy. And that's true. Lina does not like the fact that the small camp's gone, right? She likes stacking the small camp and killing the small camp. However, if you manage to win your lane on Lina, the enemy mid has no option. Most mids have no option. Like, they just have to try to come back to lane, which against Lina is an absolute nightmare if this hero gets ahead, which if you get good at Lina, which I recommend if you're gonna pick up this hero, spam it. This used to be one of my heroes that I used to get from 3k to 5k when I was largely playing position 5 and mid from that MMR range when I was around that bracket. And Lina was my go-to just win the lane no matter what. Every single game I'd win the lane. And at that time I was not even very good at farming, so I really didn't even, I basically won games just by stomping my lane and then I guess split pushing. I was decent at that at the time compared to the average player. But either way, one thing that I think is really important and underlooked as something that can be really useful for mid lane heroes this patch is the ability to kill large camps and jungle in general. Now, I think a lot of the mid meta is going to be rotating, so Lina is not favored in that regard. She doesn't rotate. However, I do think that Lina doesn't necessarily have to. Especially if she wins her lane, the enemy mid won't be able to recover easily, so she'll get her team off to a good start and it will be hard for the enemy mid to rotate. If you manage to accomplish that, and then you proceed to shove in the lane and then jungle large camps, which Lina is one of the only mids who can do particularly efficiently, like way better than the other mids, very, very quickly. Like, Lina is one of the best junglers. You're gonna get off to a really, really good start. And I've seen this play out. It's also a counter to a lot of the popular mids. For instance, coming in at number 2, Lina counters this hero pretty hard, and that is Queen of Pain. It's one of the only heroes that counters Queen of Pain. And Queen of Pain, on the same note as Lina, is dominating in the recent tournament that's going on, the ESL Malaysia tournament. And I think it's honestly mostly comes down to the fact of the lack of the small camp, right? Quap is just such a lane dominator right now, and it's a hero that actually has quite flexibility in her builds, which I think is kind of nice when you're playing a more of a high tempo mid that doesn't necessarily rely on farming the small camp as much. But basically, if you dominate mid as Quap, you're probably gonna win the game, right? You have a very, very high chance of winning the game. It's not a guarantee, let's not be crazy, but you're gonna be in a good spot. And Quap wasn't even necessarily majorly buffed. However, Quap did get one really interesting talent change that is definitely notable and particularly cool. At level 10, she gets 11 strength, which is not new, but very, very good. At level 15, you can take either 30 attack speed or Shadow Strike damage interval. You're probably just gonna take attack speed, so that stays the same. But at level 20, you get a really, really cool 60-second Sonic Wave cooldown talent, which honestly, people still might take Scream of Pain damage at level 20, just because it allows you to clear waves very effectively in combination with your shard. If you have shard and you blink on a wave with this level 20 talent, you can one-shot it, which is very efficient and very convenient, and allows you to have to show on the map for a very short period of time, which is, if you're a good player, a very valuable resource or idea, because the less time you have to show, the more time you can be off map killing neutrals and presenting yourself as a threat to the enemy team. All concepts that are very important, especially on a hero like Quap. You know, you're going to be building Witchblade, Orchid, or BKB as your first item, and all of these items enable Quap to really snowball off the lane advantage that she's built up for herself. And so this is really nice about the hero. The 60-second Sonic Wave allows Quap to not have to buy her crap Ags. Really, it was so I can't believe people would go like Orchid BKB Ags on Quap last patch. I mean, you would just spend 4k gold in an item that doesn't really enable you to snowball, because 40-second cooldown, it's just not short enough, right? You're not going to get 2 of them off in a fight. At least this level 20 talent is humble enough to understand that. It's 60 seconds off the ulti. The ulti's 125, bringing you down to a 65-second cooldown. You're not going to get that off twice in a fight. You shouldn't even play around it. And with the old Ags, very situational you to get 2 of them off, but realistically you wouldn't. This change allows Quap to just be even more high tempo if she desires in that regard. Even though I think Scream of Pain at level 20 is generally the better talent, this one is cool and is a nice change. And finally, the most broken hero of the patch that I've hated playing against as an offlaner is Bot's Batrider. There's something about this hero that's just, I don't know, it's so obnoxious. I think really in particular what I think is good about Bot's heroes right now, and this also applies to Lina, and Quap's even pretty good in this regard as well, because even though she doesn't buy bots, she gets around the map really quickly. Because you don't really want to sit mid as a mid laner anymore, like you can, but because you don't necessarily want to, being a bots hero allows you to really continue snowballing, especially if it's your average pub, and there's a lot of farm being not taken on the map, which is the reality. That is the reality. You can take it as a Bot's Batrider. Now, it might seem weird, because Batrider is a hero that kind of doesn't play that fast, and in this meta with no small camp, that might not seem like a good thing, but the thing is, if you get off to a good start, which is easier than ever with how they change Batrider's Q, then you're chillin', because basically Batrider's Q, even though it lasts for less time, has a worse radius, does less damage, it now deals the damage when you apply it, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but you have to keep in mind every single time you apply it, it gets the bonus damage. So the first tick is 6, then 12, then, you know, so on and so on. And it becomes more and more damage. And if you test it out in a lobby, if you go into a demo lobby and test it out, level 3 Batrider, if he builds up 4, 5, 6 stacks of sticky napalm, he's chunking the enemy just with his Q. Completely without committing, he's doing a significant amount of damage that doesn't force you to commit, right? And so basically, Batrider is really interesting as a lane dominator right now, and as we talked about, if you don't have a lane, and you can't really recover, you can't. At least Batrider, even if he gets shut down in the laning stage, which can happen, even though most heroes don't beat him, if that does happen, you at least can make stacks in your triangle. You can stack the Ancients and stack the large camp, some players do this, and they use it as a way to snowball. So even if your lane does go bad, keep that as an option. And this hero just pops off. I really believe it's going to be one of the top meta picks of the patch, not only in the pro scene, but just in pubs. If you manage to get good at this hero, which it is difficult, and I will admit, a lot of the heroes on this list are some of the more difficult mid heroes, but honestly, a lot of mid heroes are very mechanically difficult. And so yeah, I would absolutely recommend getting that Batrider. On top of that, his Shard build with Witchblade is kind of a cool take that a lot of players are going. Basically, Witchblade's active, it ticks 4 times, right? And it actually works with sticky napalm damage, funny enough. Who knows why, but it does. And so that build is fascinating because it gives you armor, which you kind of want, right? The BKB doesn't help you against physical damage, so the way to counter Batrider is a BKB piercing stun plus right clickers, like Scotty right clickers are really good too. But the Witchblade gives you armor, and it gives you attack speed. Attack speed's good because Sticky Napalm makes it where Flaming Lasso doesn't disarm you, and every single time you attack, or sorry, every other time you attack, you apply a stack of Sticky Napalm, and that is really, really strong with this Witchblade attack speed that you have going. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If there's any mid hero you think I missed that should be on this list, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Gameleap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.